Hello guys, here's my second video over Texas geography, and in this one we will be focused on the 4 regions of Texas. Now if you'll remember from the vocabulary that we looked at, regions are areas that have common characteristics. So for example, this region, the coastal plains, remember gets a lot of rainfall. We talked about that when we looked at our precipitation map. On the other hand, this region over here gets very little rainfall. So precipitation, climate, weather, the elevation of the land, the type of vegetation that grows there, all of these would be characteristics that help us differentiate between the regions. So for example, here where you get a lot of rainfall, you might expect to see more vegetation, more plants. Here where it's very dry, the vegetation might be cactus. And so when you see those things, you begin to be able to tell how one region works as compared to another region. Now, when they're next to each other like this, they probably have some common features, but the farther apart you get within the regions, then the more they're going to be differentiated. So you'd be looking for things like grasslands, trees and forests, mountains, the rivers, and again, things like precipitation and temperature. So what you will be doing to figure all of this out is that you will be looking at these 4 regions of Texas: the coastal plains, the north central plains, the Great Plains, and the mountains and basins. If we were in the classroom, you might get a chart that looks like this, but you instead are going to get this information and put it on Google Slides. I will have the directions in Google Classroom for you to look at. But just be aware you will be making at least 4 slides, 1 for each of the 4 regions. You will be starting with the mountains and basins. It's the shortest to read and the easiest to find because there's not as much information. And once you've kind of done that as an example, then after we've gone over it, I think you'll find the others are easier to do. We will be skipping this area here, subregions. That simply means that some of the regions are broken into further regions, and I think that begins to complicate things. So we are instead going to look here, 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 and here to fill in your Google Slides. Now, if you need more than 1 slide in order to do this, you are welcome to make more than 1 slide for each region. Just be sure you include the name of the region on each of your slides. So you're going to be looking for geographic features. Remember, physical features include things like mountains. So talk about the elevation. Talk about the amount of rainfall or precipitation it gets. Is it cooler or is it hotter? What kind of vegetation grows there? What vegetation, remember, is plants. What kind of soil might you find there? Is it good soil? Is it dry? Is it plains? Is it mountains? That's what we mean by geographic features. And I will be very specific in my directions so that you know what to look for. Natural resources, things that you find in nature. So it might be that there are trees there. So here's where things begin to get a little bit complicated. The geographic feature might be that it has a forest. The natural resource would be the trees. The geographic feature might be that it has plains. The natural resource would be that it's grasslands. And maybe you have cattle or buffalo on those grasslands. Economic activities are how do you make money out of those things. So you have forests, you have trees. The economic activity would be the lumber or timber industry. You have oil as a natural resource. The economic industry would be oil rigs or natural gas, drilling, things like that. So as you read your book, you're going to look for words like that. Now, the last one, major cities and points of interest. There's a map in each of these page ranges so you can find the cities easily. Points of interest are what would make people want to come visit your area. So it could be it's historical, but it also could be something, for example, like going to see a Dallas Cowboys game. So the Dallas Cowboys stadium would be the point of interest. Six Flags would be a point of interest. So you'll find things like that in each of the 4 regions. Now, over here, you have the page numbers 45 through 50, 51 through 53, 54 through 56, and then 57 through 59. Earlier I showed you how to access your textbook, so you will go to those pages and find this information. Now, can you find it other places? Yes, but just be careful if you go out onto the internet that the site that you go to is accurate. I would prefer you to use your book, but I cannot really stop you from doing the other. So just be aware that you need to make sure that you are looking at authoritative sources and not just something that people can make up. So you will have 4 categories for your Google Slides for each of the 4 regions. So for Coastal Plains, you'll tell me the geographic features and climate, the natural resources, the economic activities, and the major cities and points of interest. Then once you've done all of that, you would move on. Now, remember, you are starting with mountains and basins. So, all right, so let me show you the answer key. I'm not going to leave it on there very long. You won't be able to just go copy it, but this is kind of the amount of information you might want to look for. Now here, I just gave the page numbers of the maps, and they had to go find them themselves. Okay, so terms to know. The particular weather patterns of conditions of a region, that's the climate. Okay. A border is a line separating one country, state, or region from another. Vegetation, plants that cover a particular area. Landmark, a place that was important to history. A point of interest, a specific point, location that someone may find useful or interesting. So once you can always come back and reference these to kind of help you remember what you're supposed to be putting on your Google slide. Okay, so one more time. You know how to make Google Slides. We've done that for our Getting to Know You presentations. And I will expect at least 1 picture per slide. You have to have at least 4, 1 for each region, but you may have more if you need it for the spacing. This is going to kind of take more than 1 day, so you are only expected to work on the mountains and basins region for this class period. We will do the other 3 regions on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. If you have any questions, of course, you may come see me in Google Meet or at my office hours. All right, I shall go ahead and close out this video. I know you know how to do the Google Slides, and I really think you'll do a good job on this.